What's going on? It's Michael with WalkthePath. I'm here today with Dr. Laurah Lukin, and I first got introduced to her through a run group here in Cincinnati. And from a friend, I'd heard a little bit about her story. So I wanted to bring her in today to talk about her journey and then talk a little bit about running. She's very big into running, and we'll get a little bit more into that in detail here shortly.
So I started working with Verity, and I had a really good year. We made the decision in 2013. Yeah, I think that was 2 years ago. We made the decision in 2013 that I would not do Ironman anymore. I found that the workouts were really long, that I felt like I wasn't getting any quality workouts. I was just struggling to get through them.
Sure.
But I was doing really well in the halves.
How many had you done at this point?
4.
4? Okay.
Yeah. And every part would get better, but overall my time wasn't getting any better. And I was just exhausted. But the halves I actually did pretty well, and I could recover from them really quickly. So we made a strategy that I would focus on marathons and halves, and with the goal of I wanted to go to World Championships.
Wow.
And Verity was like, yeah, I think we can do that. So I started working with her, and we focused on the marathon for the first part because we, kind of decided that that's really where my strength was. Cycling also, but swimming, I'm such a bad swimmer, painfully average. It doesn't matter what, I could swim, twice as much, and I wasn't getting any better. So, but we thought that's okay because I can outrun people, so we'll work on that. And ended up doing Boston, and that was the year of the Boston bombings.
Wow.
So I did Boston that year.
Did you have any issues were you close to?
I was done. We were actually sitting maybe a quarter mile away, sitting down to eat, and we were watching it on the television in the bar.
Wow.
And we felt it go off.
Wow.
So that was really strange.
Mm-hmm.
It was quite the experience, and so then 3 weeks later is the pig, and we were going to do the pig, and it was really emotional, right? Because everybody was so focused on what happened with the bombing.
Sure. Nobody knew what was going to happen.
Exactly, and I didn't either, and I'd never done back-to-back marathons like that before ever, and I did fine at Boston. I think I did a 3:09, 3:10, and I had no expectations for the pig. I didn't think that I would do any better than that. I mean, it was only 3 weeks apart, right? So I raced the pig that year, and I actually did better, and I did a 3:05.
Wow.
Which I was really excited about, and that was my fastest pig ever to this day. So it was a great start to the year, and then we decided that I would do a half Ironman every month.
Okay.
And that would give me 3 opportunities to qualify for World Championships, and I would get enough recovery in between them to be able to race each one of them. And so I went to Kansas in June. It was fine. It was like the same as my best time. It was like a 5:10, but didn't get me to World Championships. And then I went.
And what does it take to qualify for World
So you have to come in top 3 in your age group.
Top 3. Okay.
Yeah, to be able to get your qualification slot. And it depends. It's not every age group is like that. It depends on how many people are racing in it. It's a percentage. So, like, ages like 60 and up, they don't have as many slots. But male, like age 35 to 39, have a bunch of slots. There's a lot of people racing that age category, right?
Okay.
So my age group category was 3, and I went and I raced Muncie, and I just had it was like all the pieces came together. I mean, everything. There was the bike, the swim was fine. This one was always fine, right? I know one likes swimming. I don't like swimming, but I got on the bike, and it was my fastest bike time, and it was effortless. Like the entire time, I was just jamming on the bike the entire time, like just full on, pedal to the metal, never taking a breath, and I felt fabulous. And then I got off and I ran, and I just, I ran to my heart's, content. And I was, I think that my half marathon there, because at that point I had run a 120, I finally broke 130 at 129, and I ran a 134 at Muncie. So that's after the swim and the bike. So I was like just on fire, and I qualified at Muncie to go to World Championships, which I was super excited.
That's incredible.
So then I was like, oh, well, that means I don't have to do the third one, right? No. And she was like, no, it's good practice. You're going to go and do your third one. So I went and did Steelhead. And then I went to World Championships, which was in Las Vegas. It was the last year that they had it in Las Vegas. And it was awesome. And
well, before we keep going,
uh-huh.
Tell me a little bit more about when you're talking about it's effortless. It kind of, a lot of athletes talk about being in the zone, so to speak.
Yeah.
When did you know that you were in it, and how did you talk yourself into certain things to keep it going, or is it?
I mean,
everything just came together. And
I think a lot of it is it's a mental thing, right? When I raced the Flying Pig the year that I met Rick, it was effortless. I felt, toward the end it kind of was a little rough, but it's always a little rough at the end of a marathon. And then when I raced the Pig and I raced the 305, it was the same thing. I just felt like I could run, and I was having fun, and it's like the difference between enjoying it and having fun and being able to smile and and just like having to get through it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you can rescue it. Like that was one thing that Verity really helped me to change, is I could have a really bad race, especially when I was racing half Ironmans, like in Kansas. I didn't have a good swim, and the bike was fine, but I turned it around and had a great run. And I was able to get my head, out of that place and focus on that. And it's not an easy thing to do. I mean,
sure.
I still struggled with it. There were times this year where I was running and it was effortless and I was in the zone or whatever, and there were times that I was not. There was nothing I could do to get my head to work properly. And so it just really depends, on the day and on your training and
sure.
that kind of thing. So
yeah.
And that's still one of my biggest challenges, I think, is the mental aspect of it, but I'm working on it. So after World Championships, I was supposed to go do a marathon, but I bailed on that because Rick and I were getting married, and we decided we didn't really have to do like a 20-mile long run on our honeymoon. Like that just didn't seem to be what I wanted to look back and do. So that
was part of the marriage, like to do it during a marathon, or
we actually talked about it. We actually talked about getting married during the Flying Pig because he proposed at the end of the Flying Pig.
Okay.
But we didn't. We wanted to just have it separate and to be our thing, which I think was, looking back on it, it was the right thing to do.
Awesome.
And then shortly after we got married, and we actually went out to California for our honeymoon, so we actually went and saw Verity,
cool.
Which was great. I was
Very
so
cool.
excited. And then she told me that she wasn't going to coach anymore.
Oh, wow.
And because she, 30 Birds was taking off so much, which was wonderful. And I mean, it's just blooming now. But she was going to focus. She had to focus on that. Her racing, of course, because she still races. And I think I freaked out. I think would be the proper term for what happened to me. I was just like, what am I going to do? Like, I need somebody to help me.
And it sounds like she took you to some really
I mean, and I don't know how to. I don't know how to get any higher than get to that next level.
Mm-hmm.
She said, well, you can find someone else, and she said if you can't find anyone, then I guess I'll coach one person. It'll be you. But I didn't want to do that. I mean, she, we're good friends still.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want that to happen. But I was like, oh, I want to find someone who's local, who I can interact with. And I kind of looked around, and I wasn't finding anyone here, and I was getting so frustrated. And I interviewed a bunch of people, different coaches in this area, and it just wasn't a fit. And I was talking about it. I coach at Studio S, and I think we were at a coaches meeting, and I was talking to one of the other coaches, and I was like, "Do you know anyone?" And she was like, "Well, one of the other coaches was like, well, not really who I would recommend to you." And then she was like, oh, wait a minute. There's this Russian woman who she teaches at a high school. So she comes to my track with her runners. Her runners are the Kenyans who race Hyde Park Blast every year and win. Those are her runners. You should talk to her. And I was like, well, that's intimidating. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, what's her name? She's like, I don't know. And I was like, this is not helpful. So I literally Google searched Russian, like, elite Kenyan. I knew she lived in Kentucky. Okay. She was like, she lives in Kentucky. So I was like, Kentucky. And this website came up, and it was LM Elite Running Club, Larissa Mikulova Elite Running Club. And I sent her an email. And it was like this very random email, like, someone told me about you, and I don't know if you're coaching, but it was like this really random email. And I got back a response, and she was like, yes, I'd be interested in talking to you. Let me know if you want to get together. I was like, okay. So I was like, yeah, let's get together. And she was like, great. You come to my house for dinner. And I was like, what? And I was like thoroughly freaked out. Sure. So I'm like Google searching Russian customs and all of this stuff. And I'm thoroughly so intimidated. So I didn't know what to do. I knew you were supposed to bring a gift, and I wanted to bring a gift, and I didn't. So I was going back and forth, and I didn't know what to get. And I just the vinegar shop in Hyde Park Square. I was like, oh, well, I'll bring some high-end vinegar. So I get there, and her husband, Mikhail, I call him Misha, opens the door. He's like, and I'm like, I'm here to see. He looks at me like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I'm here to see Larissa. And I'm like, I brought you this vinegar. And he looks at me, and he goes, this is not vodka. And I was like, what is going to happen here? What is going to happen? And so I go and
so don't bring vinegar.
I'm like, oh my God. The entire time, we're having dinner, and they're asking me all these different questions, right? And she's like, okay, we'll write a training schedule for you. So she's going and looking around for stuff, and Nisha just hangs around and he'll ask me questions. Well, he also kind of coaches. He does all of the massage and all of that for all of the runners. So she has a house in Newport where the runners come and they stay while they race here. She's an agent for them, and for some of them a coach also. And they come from Russia, Ethiopia, Kenya, Morocco, and so she's getting stuff together to talk to me about my schedule, and he's sitting there asking me questions, and he's like, so what pharmaceuticals do you take? And I'm like, are you asking me if I dope? What is happening here? And he was just asking me about vitamins I took, but I didn't know how to answer him. And they keep looking at me like I'm just absolutely stupid. And then so Larissa starts writing my training schedule for the next week, and she's like, okay, well, she's not okay. That's how she always says it. On Monday, you will go to swimming pool. On Tuesday, you will do run, and you will do gymnastics. And I'm like, what? I'm like, gymnastics? I'm like back handsprings and round out. I do some yoga, but
Right. Where does gymnastics go?
But I don't want to offend her, and she looks at me like I killed her puppy.
Oh no.
And she's like, you don't know gymnastics? How can you run without doing gymnastics? And I was like, and she says, she's like, oh, she looks thoroughly irritated. She's like, I'll show you. She gets down on the ground, and she starts stretching, reaching for her toes, and and I was like, stretching, I got that, I can do that. Not the problem. She's like, gymnastics. And I was like, I'm gonna be doing gymnastics all day, Larissa, like a champ. I can totally do that. So, long story short, Larissa starts coaching me, and her and Misha are probably the most wonderful people I've ever met. I mean, they are so kind, and she checks in on me every single day.
Wow.
And she runs with me. I ran with her this morning, and she said, okay, well, in February of this past year, she said, okay, I'm going to register you elite. You're going to race this 5K elite. I said, I'm not an elite runner. And she's like, no, you're an elite runner. She's like, if they accept your time, you're an elite runner because you have to submit your time. So she starts submitting times for me, and I start getting accepted to these races.
Wow.
And I started I still don't know if I can in my brain consider myself an elite runner because I think of all these people who are so much more fast, but I get to race alongside them, which is a lot of fun. You know, and I get to, I mean, some of the races I can win, and, you know, I make a little bit of money, and it's really fun. But I'm hoping that, you know, I will continue to get better. And she's been invaluable. She and Misha both. He takes care of my legs, and she just tells me what to do. So.
So what do you see for the future? Is it to win a marathon, or what do you?
Yeah, I would like to win. I was hoping to win one this year, and it just wasn't in the cards, which is okay. I won a lot of other races. I won my first half marathon, so that was really cool.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But yeah, I would like to try to win one. I have 2 marathons scheduled for the spring that I've already been accepted to, and in 5 weeks I go to Arizona. I got accepted to a half to race there. It's all downhill, which I think sounds fabulous. So I'm hoping for a really good time. So I'm hoping that one of the races, one of the marathons that I have this spring, I might have the opportunity to win, or at least PR.
And PR, for those who don't know, outside the running world, is
just put your personal best up, or your personal fastest time.
Okay.
So I'd like to, I mean, far off in the future, you know, you have those goals that, you know, you think you might never, ever be able to achieve in life, but you hope that someday maybe you can. I would love to be able to run a 2:45. I mean, that's my lifelong dream, because that's the B standard for Olympic trials.
Wow.
So I think it would just be a very cool experience to be able to ever, like, just show up at the starting line of Olympic trials, right?
Yeah.
And that might not ever happen. You never know. I mean, who knows? I might be like at the end of where I get fast right now, and that's it. So, but I think I have still a little bit more fast in these legs, but we'll see.
Awesome. But think about at age 20, 22, you know, or 21 to 22, first diagnosed with cancer, and maybe running a little bit. Did you ever imagine that you were going to be?
Oh no. No, I thought I was going to do like a half marathon, and that would be it. But like I told you earlier, I kind of have that addictive personality where I like doing it, and I think it's a lot of fun. So I'll keep doing it until I can't do it anymore.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So for anybody out there who's thinking about doing a half marathon, maybe years down the road you'll be in exactly this position. So, what's your favorite quote?
My favorite quote? Oh no, you're putting me on the spot. Let me think.
First thing that comes to mind. Favorite person ever in history now that you admire?
I probably think. God, this is I'm totally drawing a blank here.
That's all right. Tell me this. What is one? I like to ask people. What is one goofy thing or quirky thing about you that you do that maybe not everybody knows, or maybe a lot of your close friends know? But
I have to eat pizza before I race.
Do you really?
I eat pizza before I race. The night before I race, I eat pizza, and I have to eat pizza or my brain caves in.
Any particular
Nope,
kind?
doesn't matter. Just pizza.
Anything on it specifically?
Nope. No pork. We don't eat pork, but
Okay.
yeah,
Other
pizza.
than that,
Just pizza.
that's the secret to success here.
I've got my quote for you. One of the funniest quotes that kind of rings true in my mind is, it's not necessarily true, but when I was running with a group in Indianapolis, this guy would say that the only pace is suicide pace, and today sounds like a good day to die.
Isn't that Steve Prefontaine?
It might be. I don't know where it came from.
I think it's Steve Prefontaine. That's awesome.
But that was that was fun.
Yeah. What advice would you give to people on their journeys? Maybe not necessarily in running, but what would you tell them to keep moving forward?
I think it's the same with running. I think that a lot of the comments that I made they are running specific, but they don't have to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if it's, a career or it's a life ambition or goal or whatever, I think if you want it badly enough and you make it a priority, that it will happen. People make excuses all the time. excuses are kind of the pitfall to any dream, you know. So just don't make excuses.
Awesome. And anything else that you want to tell people? Final closing thoughts?
I don't know, just go do it and don't look back.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, again, this is Michael with Walk the Path. I'm here with Dr. Laurah Lukin, and thank you so much for doing this interview. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. She shared a lot of good stuff. So again, look for her doing, 2:45 is the goal?
Yeah,
2:45.
several years down the road.
Great. Thank you.